Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavatir Uttama Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Om Agnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya. Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagradatam Saganada Gunatanutam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Saganadadita Shri Vishamitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopecha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Saptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So before we begin, on request all devotees, this is the glorious book marathon month where devotees all go to distribute Prabhupada's books. So I will request to all of you is please engage in book distribution. Yesterday our Grasta team from Holimau went out for distribution, distributed about 35 books yesterday. So they are very determined to do that every Saturday. So all devotees should distribute books. Either you can, if you have the time, then you should join other book distributors, go out on the street, distribute. It's a very powerful process. It helps us to remove our false ego. So if you want to make serious progress in Krishna consciousness, one needs to do book distribution. And if you cannot, for whatever reasons, then you should at least do Shastradan. So at least, 10, 20 books you can. In the Kannada class, I said 5 because they're all very middle class kind of families. But software people who have Lakshmi, Krishna has given you Lakshmi. Please utilize it. Or you can gift Śrīmad Bhāgavatam to somebody, or if there's some function in any function that is happening in your families, then encourage program organizers to gift Bhagavad Gita. So please be instrumental in this very, very important seva. It is very, very dear to Srila Prabhupada. And of course, we'll get a lot of mercy if you engage in a seva. So please keep that in mind. So we have time for a whole month and even beyond, actually till Jan 15th we do. So somehow we should engage. Somehow, somehow we should engage. And if you want to do some commitments, you can't gift books, you want to give Shastradan, you please contact me. And whatever Lakshmi you want to donate, you donate. We are doing programs in some schools, in various places where people can't fully afford. Bhagavad Gita today costs say 250 rupees. People can't afford. Many places people say, I have interest to read, but I can only pay 100 rupees. So we'll use the Shastradan in those places. So kindly think about it. No, don't think about it. Kindly act on it. Okay. Okay, so let's proceed further. Yeah. Okay. 1.3.21. ततः सप्तदशे जाता सत्यवत्यां पराशरात् चक्रे वेदतरो शाखा दृष्ट्वा पुंसोऽल्पमेधसः. Thereafter, in the 17th incarnation of Godhead, Sri Vyasadeva appeared in the womb of Satyavati through Parashara Muni. And he divided the one Veda into several branches and sub-branches, seeing that the people in general were less intelligent. And so this less intelligent people are the people of Kali Yuga, who unfortunately think they are very intelligent. But from a viewpoint of Shastra, scriptures, Krishna's creation, the maturity of different yugas, Kali Yuga is the most fallen, most unfortunate people come in Kali Yuga. And so there is no reason for us to feel any kind of pride for whatever little insignificant material accomplishment we might have achieved, because in the overall comparative study of different yugas, people in this Kali Yuga are most fallen, but most fortunate. Most fortunate because we've got the most easiest and most sublime method of achieving perfection, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Okay. But we should remember that we are less intelligent. It's very difficult for us to comprehend Shastra. So we have to read it multiple times. We can't remember shlokas. We have to try and memorize. All these things. Previously, people used to be Shrutidaras. Like you just hear once and they remember. So that is also part of intelligence. What this intelligence actually has multiple aspects. Intelligence has memory, intelligence has sleep. Not just what we think as intelligence. So these are all described in Bhagavatam, various aspects of these topics. Mind, there's a lot of discussion about mind, intelligence, all these in Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. Okay. So previously there was only one Veda, then it was divided into Sama, Yajur, Atharva, Rig, and then also Puranas and Mahabharata was considered as the Panchama Veda, fifth Veda. So less intelligent because Vedas cannot be understood by normal people. One has to be highly intelligent. So only the Brahmana class can understand. Self-realized Brahmanas. So what is the difference? Self-realized Brahmanas versus grammatical people who understand Sanskrit. And they can't understand the instructions of Vedas. That is why they'll get stuck in the flowery language of the Vedas, Karma Kanda. The people who are not self-realized. Self-realized Brahmanas who are highly intelligent can only understand Vedas. For all the others, Brahma Bandhus or Dvija Bandhus who are the lower class without samskaras. So anybody who takes birth without Garbhadan samskara, without parents having done that Garbhadan samskara, are considered second class Dvija Bandhus. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishyas are considered as Dvijas because they can get second birth through initiation, spiritual initiation. But Dvija Bandhus are those who are born in Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya families, but whose parents did not engage in Garbhadan Samskara. So, which means they become equivalent to Shudras. So it is said for Dvija Bandhu, Shudras and women, the Vedas were distributed, divided, subdivided, and also for also the Puranas and Mahabharata were given. Now, when we talk about, I've told this before also, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra is a classification for Purushas. For women, it is three dharma and then associated varna that they get married into. Accordingly, their responsibility. So, Dvijabandhus are classified among Shudras and women. So, which means otherwise, Dvijas are considered superior living entities. But in Kali Yuga, pretty much everybody is a Dvijabandhu. So, Dvijabandhus are considered, even though they are higher Varna, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, they are still considered in the same group as Shudras and women. I've discussed this at length even in Bhagavad Gita, why women are considered less intelligent. Because from a Shastra understanding, philosophical acumen, second thing is attachment to this material world. Generally, in the body of women, of a lady, these are natural, innate characteristics. It's nothing to do with a particular person. It's like every species, every body brings along with it, like nature is, coming along. So, like a Brahmana has his own nature, Kshatriya has his own nature, like that women have their own nature. It is not very conducive to for spiritual realization because it is emotional. The nature of woman is emotional, and one becomes emotional, then generally we lose rationality, and attachment to material nature will not help us to go deep into the Shastra, or will not even, many people are not even interested. But having said that, actually Prabhupada says many times that women are more religious, which is very, very important, because there's a difference between being religious and spiritual, in the sense that just namesake religion, like, going to a temple, attending some puja, this, that, and all that is religious. But actually doing those with an understanding of who I am and why I'm doing that, and then ultimate goal of life, etc., we can call that as spiritual. But even just being simply religious, going to temple, etc., is much better than being non-religious, because that religious people are more inclined to come to Krishna. Actually, we see in our preaching, right, mostly women are very, very interested, right, because they have that inclination, and they just need some, good hearing for them to actually make progress. And Prabhupada also very clearly said, once a person comes into Krishna consciousness, then we don't have to distinguish or consider, okay, women are less intelligent, men are more intelligent. Women who come to Krishna consciousness are more intelligent than men who don't come into Krishna consciousness. So it's not, but it's a general tendency that the Shastras talk. And so for the benefit of all these people, Vedas were not, people couldn't read and understand Vedas. So it was divided into sub-branches, and also the Puranas and Mahabharata were given as the Panchama Veda. Yeah, that was Srila Vyasadeva. He's a very empowered incarnation, because without him, through him, Shukadeva Goswami came. Then, the great Bhagavad Puran appeared, and he also was responsible for making it more easy for people of Kali Yuga to consume or to understand the perfection of life. So very, very relevant for us. That is why we offer always. So we call the seat on which a person sits and speaks transcendental knowledge as Vyasa Asana. You have to be representatives of Vyasadeva when we are distributing transcendental knowledge. And representing Vyasadeva means representing the parampara, giving the message as it is, without any kind of duplication, without cheating. That giving the message as it is very important for a person sitting on Vyasasana. Okay, 22. Naradevatvam apanna surakaya chikirshaya samudra nigrahadini chakre viryani atapparam. In the 18th incarnation, the Lord appeared as King Rama in order to perform some pleasing work for the demigods, exhibited superhuman powers by controlling the Indian Ocean, and then killing the atheist king Ravana, who was on the other side of the sea. So very nicely describing the whole Ramayana. So Sutta Goswami is saying he appeared to do some pleasing work for the demigods. Lord always appears as avatara for paritranaya sadhuna vinashaya cha dushkrutam. That vinashaya cha dushkrutam is mostly to please demigods, because some demons will be behind them, preventing them from doing their allotted seva of universal administration. Then the Lord appears, like in this case Ravana. So here, saying the Lord exhibited superhuman powers. So we've heard of this, but Lord also bewilders people by exhibiting emotion like an ordinary man who has lost his wife. So it's inconceivable to understand the Supreme Lord's pastimes. And that is why both Krishna and Rama, Krishna, so anyway, people are super confused about Krishna. Rama, to some extent, when he did all this, when he didn't encourage Surpanaka, and he followed the vow of his, the curse of his father, whatever his request of his mother, and so all this, people are very happy. Yes, okay, this is Ramaraja and how we rule citizens, etc. But then, when it comes to how he dealt with his, why did he push Sita away? People ask, why did he push Sita away? Just because somebody said something. Why was he so lamenting so much, like an ordinary man? So some aspects of Sri Rama's pastimes people can't. Again, we have to come to Shastra, we have to come to Acharyas, Parampara to be able to understand these things. And Ravana was a great devotee of Shiva. So he used to worship Shiva everywhere, right? Like we know with Kartavirya Arjuna. So Ravana was worshipping on the banks of river, and then Kartavirya Arjuna stops the flow of that river, and then it overflows and then disturbs Ravana's puja. And he becomes very angry, and then he goes finds Kartavirya Arjuna. So like this, so he did so much of tapasya, Ravana. But Lord Shiva is very merciful to these demons, because by that he gives them great mercy. Like in this case, Ravana got great mercy. By becoming arrogant and going against Lord Rama, he was killed by. So Lord Shiva is always merciful. He's the most merciful. He is like the perfect preacher. He doesn't give up any diva, however fallen he might be. Even ghosts and pretas, he benefits them also. Brings everybody to the Lord. So he's, whenever we discuss about Lord Shiva, we should try to walk in the direction that he has given. Preach, give this message to everybody, bring everybody to Krishna consciousness. That is Lord Shiva's message. And through his, he's also shown in Shastra how that Vishnu is more superior than him. So he doesn't have any confusion about his position. He's very clear. But the followers don't understand him properly. So they create a lot of unnecessary disturbance. Anyway, so he gives benedictions to asuras. So here, Ravana was killed, then Banasura. So like this, there are so many examples. Prabhupada is saying about these demons. He's writing some very nice purport. So I'll read some part of it. Sometimes great demons and the atheists like Ravana and Hiranyakashipu and many others become very famous due to advancing material civilization by the help of material science and other activities with the spirit of challenging the established order. So Prabhupada is saying, the attempt to fly to other planets by material means is a challenge to the established order, because the established order is not allowing people to just simply go into other planets. So this is a challenge to the established order, and anybody who challenges the established order, now we know in this modern days who are challenging established order, the famous scientists. So they are considered demons and atheists because they don't believe in Krishna. They don't believe in Krishna's powers. They don't believe in rules of this world, etc. So, but puffed up by tiny success in material advancement, sometimes godless materialists challenge the existence of God. Ravana was one of them, and he wanted to deport ordinary men to Swarga by material means. He wanted to construct a staircase. So, like this, all this trying to go to it, this is equivalent. Trying to go to a planet by, some kind of a spacecraft and walking up to heaven is just different means of challenging the established order. But unfortunately, Kali Yuga, people have so much respect for these so-called knowledgeable people, scientists, and blindly believe whatever they say. But people don't have faith in Shastra. People don't have faith when our rishis, munis, who are actual scientists, they are the actual scientists. They did all the research to discover what Lord had given. We don't trust them, but we'll trust all these scientists. Prabhupada also says modern scientists is really bashing modern scientists in this purport. I've done research in the area of weightlessness, but it is not possible to for them to bring in weightlessness anywhere and everywhere, like Lord Rama did. Or this creation, all these planets are weightless; they are actually floating. Just imagine how powerful Sankarshana, the power of gravitation, they're actually floating in the air, heavy, real. And Lord Rama made rocks float on water. What can scientists do? So scientists should not challenge the position of the Lord. Lord displays this power, and they consider this as imagination. But the planets floating in the sky is not an imagination; it's reality. But then they'll attribute some other reason to just say that no, God doesn't exist. People blindly follow them. Nonsense. Okay. Actually, we should read these purports. Actually, purports are so nice, and it helps us to go into the mood of that particular avatara. Prabhupada, in that little purport, he brings us to the mood of that avatara. Okay, verse 23. एकोनविंशे विंशति में वृष्णिषु प्राप्य जन्मनि रामकृष्णा विधि भुवो भगवान् हरद्ब्रह्मरम्. In the 19th and 20th incarnations, Lord advented himself, Lord Balarama and Lord Krishna, in the family of Vrishni, the Yadu dynasty. Yadu was one king, and in that family, then dynasty was there, and in that dynasty, there's a family of Vrishni. And by so doing, he removed the burden of the world. So Prabhupada has not written a big purport to this verse, because if he writes a purport to the verse, then this is the whole of Bhagavatam. But clearly, one thing he's saying is that here the word Bhagavan. So it says Bhagavan. Now, till now, this word Bhagavan has not been used in any of the other verses. So here it is said Bhagavan. So this is Swayam Bhagavan, Krishna himself appearing. So Prabhupada is saying Lord Krishna is not an incarnation of the Purusha. He's not an incarnation of Vishnu. As people say Krishna is an incarnation of Vishnu, Prabhupada is saying no, he's not an incarnation of the Purusha. He's the source of all incarnations. And he's avatari. And while we can say avatara because he appears from his, but he's avatari. He's the source of all incarnations. So we know from Krishna, Balaram comes, then from Balaram, Chaturvyuha, from Sankarshana, then Narayana, from Narayana, second Chaturvyuha, again from the Sankarshana of the second Chaturvyuha, Mahavishnu, Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, Kshirodakashaya Vishnu. So all of them are but parts of plenary expansion of Krishna. So I'll explain this in the subsequent verse. Technically, there's a verse which describes about Amsha and Kala. So I will discuss what these are. What is this plenary portion? When we are reading this English book, we hear this plenary expansion. part of plenary expansion. What does all these things? What do all these things mean actually? Okay. 24. Tata kalau sampravritte sammohaya suradvisham buddho namnanjana sutta kikateshu bhavishyati. Then in the beginning of Kali Yuga, the Lord will appear as Lord Buddha, the son of Anjana, in the province of Gaya, just for the purpose of deluding those who are envious of the faithful theist. See, very, very, very enlightening statement. For the purpose of deluding those who are envious of the faithful theist. Theists are the people who are actually, who understand Vedas, who surrender to the Supreme Lord, etc. Now Buddha appeared why? For the purpose of deluding those who are envious. So during this time, people had become envious of faithful theists. The faithful theists were those who understood the purpose of Vedas, and they were telling people, saying that don't involve in so much animal slaughter. It is not good. It's violent and you will suffer for it. It's violence and you will suffer for it. But people, they had just gone crazy with, behind material enjoyment, mainly satisfying their tongue by eating animal flesh. So there was no other option to appear. And where did he appear? He appeared in Gaya, which is Bihar, son of Anjana. And people were atheistic, though they were saying they were following Vedas, but they were really atheistic. So now it had to be stopped. How can you stop that? Actually, Vedas allow, very controlled meat eating. And this control, this facility is given because facility is not given, people will go illegal, right? They will anyway do it because there are people with such propensities in Lord's creation. Lord has given them some allowance. He says, you can eat. Vedas say that you can eat if you cannot control yourself, but you eat on, very specific days like Amavasya, etc. And there's a specific process, not going to the bazaar and getting meat off the shelf and then cooking and eating every day. Yesterday I was on a flight and I was seeing, vegetarian or non-vegetarian, as in organized distribution of meat. Crazy. And we feel so miserable actually sitting next to people who are just eating, flesh, and they're rejoicing. And now when I look at those people and, they're chewing, oh my God, these people will also suffer like this, but they don't know. Somehow we have to tell them. Otherwise in ignorance, they're just eating like we eat sabji. They're eating poor animal was killed for their tongue. Such a pity. So he came to prevent this because people mass, like just imagine this. It was worse than this. At that time it was worse than this. How horrible it could have been that time. So Buddha came and he said, no, I don't accept Vedas. Non-violence is para dharma. It is the topmost dharma, non-violence. Forget about Vedas because Vedas are giving this path. I will reject the Vedas. So externally, he rejected the Vedas, though he is an incarnation of the Supreme Lord and Vedas are his creation. But he refuted. He said, no, I don't accept. I'm not going to accept Vedas. But more important than that is actually non-violence. So he talked about adverse psychological effects. Prabhupada is saying adverse psychological effects incurred by animal killing. And less intelligent men who had no faith in God, but who had faith in Vedas. It's crazy. Actually, they didn't have faith in God. They just were using the Vedas. Not that they had real faith in Vedas. They were just using the pretext of the Vedas to do killing. So here Prabhupada is saying one very, very important statement, which is a good tool for us to preach to these people who are meat eaters. They were trained in moral discipline and non-violence. Moral discipline and non-violence, which are the preliminary steps for proceeding further on the path of God realization. So we should at least bring these non-vegetarian eaters to non-violence and moral discipline. Ye sahi hai, galat hai, like right and wrong, that kind of at least basics, bring them to, and then slowly they can come on to the path of God realization. Um, so here, and it beautiful lines Prabhupada has written. He said he deluded the atheists who actually did not believe God, but he made them believe in himself, who's God. So those who are generally non-believers of God started believing the words of Buddha, who is non-different from the Supreme Lord. So that was his mercy, that faithless became faithful to him. Prabhupada, amazing insight. So this is the mercy, right? By rejecting Vedas externally, he built trust. People started having faith in Buddha. And these animal killers, they're called Atmahana. Ishopanishad also says Atmahana means killer of the soul. So it can either mean Atmahana means killer of the soul or killer of animal. But killer of animal is also killer of soul, because he's degrading his own soul, making progress towards Godhead. People are making digress, they're going down. So they're called Atmahana. So Maharaj Parikshit said that only the animal killer cannot relish the transcendental message of the Supreme Lord. Only an animal killer. Others should have. Others will relish, should relish, will relish. So if people are to be educated on the path of Godhead, they must be first and foremost taught to stop the process of animal killing, as above mentioned. So non-violence and moral discipline has to be taught first to people. Without that, they cannot even imagine coming to the Supreme Lord. So we should understand then Buddha preached very preliminary principles of Vedas. It is also part of the Vedas, but it's a very preliminary principle. And then Shankaracharya also slightly advanced principles. Then the Prabhupada is saying here that both Buddha and Shankaracharya paved the path of theism. Their message seemed like, he was atheism, because actually it didn't really believe completely in the Supreme Lord. Partially, nothing Buddha. Shankaracharya also very partially, or actually we can say atheism only, because when people started thinking that I am Brahman, then it is atheism. But the Prabhupada is saying they paved the path for theism, so that subsequently Vaishnava acharyas like Chaitanya, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could come and give the real message. So because they all have a role to play, they're all great, Lord himself or Lord Shiva coming as Shankaracharya. They're working in the service of the Lord to help this whole, human kind to go back to Krishna. And they had different roles to play at different times. And Prabhupada says, we are glad that people are taking interest in the non-violent movement of Lord Buddha. So many people say they are followers of Buddhists. But will they close slaughterhouses? Otherwise, there's no meaning to this Ahimsa cult, Prabhupada says. And then one beautiful glorification of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam in the purport. Prabhupada is saying Śrīmad Bhāgavatam was composed just prior to the beginning of the age of Kali. And Lord Buddha appeared about 2600 years ago. Bhagavatam was composed about 5000 years ago. So Bhagavatam is foretelling, as in it's predicting the future. So this is the authority of this clear scripture. So there are many prophecies which Bhagavatam has made, and it is all coming true. So because it is given by liberated souls who can see past, present, future, who are beyond the traces of four defects: make, mistake, illusion, cheating, imperfection. So that is why we have to hear from liberated souls. Actually, there's one more, very confusing discussion about idol worship versus Archa Vigraha. What is the difference between idol worship and Archa Vigraha? Can anybody say? What is the difference between idol worship and Archa Vigraha? Archa Vigraha worship. Any thoughts? Okay. So Archa Vigraha is also idol, right? As in it's a form. What is an idol? Idol is a form made of material element. Archa Vigraha is also a form made of material element. But the difference is Archa Vigraha, the form of Archa Vigraha, is a form which has been revealed by the Lord Himself to self-realized souls, to those devotees, and then the devotees describe this form of the Lord, and some expert sculpt he actually produces that form from material elements. So it's not some imaginary form. It's not some imaginary form. So, for example, in our Radha Madhav in Mayapur, it is said actually, Srila Jayapatak Maharaj, he had this form come in his dreams. This is how the Lord reveals to self-realized souls. Sometimes in dreams, sometimes in meditation, various ways he reveals to self, those pure souls. And after many years, when when Mayapur temple and they were finding, they didn't know which deity to whom to install, etc. Then actually Jayapatak Maharaj saw these deities and said, "This is exactly who had come in my dream." So the Lord had revealed, saying that I'm going to appear as Radha Madhav. So like this, these forms are authentic because they are actually revealed. And then such acharyas invoke or beg, for the Lord's potency to be present in that Chavigraha. So actually, when we stand before an idol and before the Lord Himself as Artha Vigraha, we can feel the difference. We can feel the difference of the presence of the Lord. Like if you're standing in front of Radha Madhav, you literally feel like they're looking at you. But that might not be the case with some idol. You go to a idol shop and then you see some form. It will not have the same effect. So like this, the self-realized souls are really empowered by the Supreme Lord to they're like the what do you say, the medium for Lord to present Himself to the world. Otherwise, how will we, like normal human beings, understand all these things? These are great souls. So that is why Sadhu Ninda is the first of the 10 offenses. So we should never offend these great devotees who are representatives of the Supreme Lord trying to distribute His message. That is why we should do Sadhu Seva. So today we have the opportunity actually. His Holiness Bhakti Purushottam Swami Maharaj is there in Sheshadripuram temple. He was there in other temple yesterday, ICC, I think. So 11:30 to 1 o'clock, we can get his association. We can try to do some seva to Maharaj. Those who can come, kindly come to Sheshadripuram temple. Should always be looking out for any opportunities to associate with pure sadhus. Verse 25. Athasau yuga sandhyayam dasyuprayeshu rajasu janita Vishnu yashaso namna kalkir jagatpati. So one more prediction of Kalki. Therefore, thereafter, after Buddha, at the conjunction of the two yugas, conjunction is called Yuga Sandhya. Yuga Sandhya is the time when at the conjunction, one yuga is ending and the other yuga is starting. It is called Yuga Sandhya. The Lord of the creation will take his birth as a Kalki incarnation and become the son of Vishnu Yasha. At this time, almost all the rulers of the earth will have degenerated into plunderers. Rulers of the earth means our so-called politicians. They are already, but just imagine how horrible it's going to get. This only we cannot tolerate, these politicians plundering our money for their own personal motives. Just imagine, this is still not time for Lord to appear. How horrible situation will be in the future when the Lord is, will have to appear, because people would have degraded to animals. 12th canto of Bhagavatam describes this degradation of Kali Yuga, and first time I read that, I felt like, oh my God, I don't want to come back again. It's just not for human beings. It's so demoniac that time as Kali Yuga progresses. So we better make up our minds, determined not to come back, not to take another birth. Because fortunately, we've got this association of, mercy of Srila Prabhupada and his followers in this life, and we can achieve perfection because the path is sublime. Path can give us perfection, provided we want to take it. Unfortunately, we are still attached to material things. Or some people say they're not attached to material things, but they're not attached to spiritual either, which is in some sense the same, because, what is important is if there is no attachment to, we are not becoming jnanis. Okay, I am detached from material world, but then what about attachment to the Lord? No, I'm just detached. I'm happy with that. Okay, then you'll be a jnani, you'll go to Brahma Jyoti, then you'll again come back. We don't want that. We want to develop attachment to Krishna. Yeah, attachment to the Supreme Lord, but specifically attachment to Krishna. So we should hear about him. We should engage in service. We should hear from his pure devotees. We should serve them. So then we will be ensured that, that we will not appear in this miserable material world. So Prabhupada is saying here is another foretelling. So another prediction about the future. So Bhagavatam is so sublime. So here also it is said Vishnu Yasha will be in the village Shambhala. So his father's name, city, name of the village where he'll appear, everything is being given. Nowadays people claim, I am incarnation of Lord. Why? Because I have take this vibhuti from me. And then people around him glorify him. Oh, he's the Supreme Lord. And then he doesn't say anything. He might not go around saying, I am God, I am God. And there was one like that during the time of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Yeah, today maybe people don't say that, but they don't either say that they're servants of God, because actually they think Aham Brahmasmi. I'm actually Brahman. Now that I'm just in ignorance, I'm in Maya. Subsequently, I'll realize I am Brahman. So though they are not stating, but when somebody else says, they say, yeah, in future everybody is Brahman. Everybody, so it's fine. Once Prabhupada said something like this, our Prabhupada is Krishna, Supreme Lord. Prabhupada threw the devotee out of ISKCON. He said, don't come back. You're going to spoil ISKCON. I am not Krishna. I am servant of Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself showed by example. But there are so many cheating, dongi sadhus in Kali Yuga. And people also are so ready to get misled. They don't have, that is why Manda, Sumanda Matayam. Unintelligent people, Kali Yuga. Simply somebody wears a garb of a devotee, like Indra also did. When Indra, Prithu Maharaj was doing horse sacrifice, Indra is called Shatakrutu. Shatakrutu means 100 horse sacrifices. So Prithu Maharaj was also, he's in his 100th sacrifice, and Indra comes and steals his sacrificial horse. And then what dress does he wear? He wears a dress of a mendicant, sannyasi. And the Brahma comes and says, see, Prithu, you better stop this. Because Indra is now inventing all new ways of irreligiosity, which is going to become prevalent in this on the material world. And today we see so many people who are just tongis, but they just wear sannyasi clothes and they beg for food and they mislead people, and people just get misled. They go to hell along with those people who are cheating themselves. So we have to be very fortunate to come to authentic, sadhus in Kali Yuga. Prabhupada says people who want to get cheated will get cheated. Krishna will give them the means because it's their desire to get cheated. So, okay, lelo, get cheated. And people who are sincere come to Prabhupada, come to authentic acharyas. So, these verses, and then that is why Krishna shows his universal form in Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. Say, Arjuna, his mindset, Prabhupada is saying, why Arjuna asked for this? Arjuna had no interest to see his Vishwarupa. But he wanted to tell those people who will come eventually in the future and say, I am Lord. He wanted to say, okay, now show your universal form. Let's see. If you show your universal form, then we'll agree that you are the Supreme Lord. You are an incarnation of the Supreme Lord. So we should not believe. Even today, I see so many people simply, they think, this person is Lord, and they worship, they put their photos, murtis, whatever in the altar along with Krishna and worship, some really, somebody might be a yogi, but there are so many yogis. We don't take yogis and put them on the altar and worship them on the same level as Krishna. They will not take Krishna's name, but they will glorify that yogi as some incarnation of Krishna. So much of ignorance, so much of ignorance. The Lord has given enough proof what he is, and that his name of his father, name of his village, everything is mentioned in the Shastra. Lord will not simply accept Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Channavatar. All other incarnations of Krishna have proof in the Shastra that, okay, this person, he will appear here, his name, his village, this is his father. Everything he has given. So we should not get misled by false propaganda. Okay, 26. Avatara hi asankhyeya hare sattva nidhe dvijaha yatha vidasina kulyah sarasa su sahasrashaha. Oh, Brahmanas, the incarnation of the Lord are innumerable, like rivulets flowing from the inexhaustible source of water. So you'll say, okay, there are only so many avatars. No, it's innumerable. And actually, Prabhupada very mercifully has mentioned other incarnations. There are many others. And why do we read these? Because just reading the names of these avatars purifying. There are many other avatars, such as Sri Hayagriva, horse-faced, Hari, Hamsa, Prishnigarbha. Prishnigarbha appeared in front of Dhruva Maharaj. Vibhu, Satyasena, Vaikuntha, Sarvabhauma, Vishwaksena, Dharmasetu, Sudhama, Yogeshwara, Bradbhanu, and others of the bygone ages. Some of them are mentioned in Bhagavatam, some of them are not. But anyway, they're all incarnations as Srila Prabhupada. Sri Prahlad Maharaj said in his prayer, my Lord, you manifest as many incarnations as there are species of life. Just imagine. Namely the aquatics, vegetables, reptiles, birds, beasts, men, demigods, etc. So Prahlad Maharaj is saying the Lord appears even in the species of vegetables. Now we don't know, we've not heard of them, but Prahlad Maharaj is saying that means that Lord appears. Hare Krishna, kindly mute yourself. Okay. Just for the maintenance of the faithful and the annihilation of unfaithful, you advent yourself in this way in accordance with the necessity of the different yugas. In Kaliya, you have incarnated garbed as a devotee. Prahlad Maharaj is saying. So, innumerable incarnations. We should not think that there are only, okay, these 10, or in this there are, how many? We saw 20, 21, 22 incarnations we saw here. It's not the end of Krishna's incarnation, it's innumerable. Okay. Now we'll do one more verse and stop because the verse after that will take a whole class. Beautiful verse after that. Verse 27. Rishayo manavo deva manuputra mahaujasaha kala sarve hare eva saprajapataya smritaha. All the rishis, manus are the There are 14 Manus in the day of Brahma. All the rishis, great sages, whose names you have heard. All the rishis, Manus, demigods, all the administrative gods, descendants of Manu, people who important kings who appeared in the dynasty of various Manus, who are especially powerful. So all these, amongst these rishis, Manus, demigods, descendants of Manu, who are especially powerful, are plenary portions or portions of plenary portions of the Lord. So we will understand this in the next verse. This also includes the Prajapatis. So here Prabhupada is making one statement here. Those who are comparatively less powerful are called Vibhuti, and those who are comparatively more powerful are called Avesha. Shakti, Avesha, then Vibhuti. Vibhuti is Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says Vibhuti, Yoga. So all the Vibhutis, all the various material manifestations, they are Vibhuti, opulent to the Lord. Less powerful. More powerful are Avesha, Shakti, Avesha. The Lord, he gives his Shakti, a particular aspect of his Shakti, to a particular Jiva for him to perform different activities. Like Puruttu, Kumara, Narada, all of them are Shakti Avesha. Vyasadeva. So we should understand these things. Next verse, we'll go into a lot more details about Krishna's different types of forms. So till now we've heard names of different incarnations. Now we will hear about different types of forms of Krishna. Super technical, but it's very, very interesting. Like how, why do we, when we read all this, we should understand, oh, so much power Krishna has. Unimaginable power. But what is bhakti? Finally forgetting that Krishna has all this power. And that also bewilders us. Oh, how can I forget? How can I forget that Krishna has so much power? That everything is happening because of him. How can I forget he is the Supreme Lord? This is the sweetness of pure love. That forgets is this super powerful person and just loves him for being a friend or child in terms of Vatsalya, or boyfriend in terms of gopis. This is bhakti, this beauty of this bhakti as we are being trained in the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. So with this, I will stop here, verse 27, and Krishna willing, we'll continue in. Okay, so we'll conclude here. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Śrīla Prabhupada ki. Okay, if anybody has any questions, doubts, you can ask.
Prabhu, can you please give some more explanation regarding the Avesha?
Yeah, so Shakti Avesha, so Krishna empowers a Jiva. Jiva, which means that they are not actually Vishnu Tattva. So there are three Tattvas. There is Vishnu Tattva, there is Swayam Krishna. This I will discuss next week, but I'm just saying because you are there is Swayam Krishna, and then from Krishna there is what is called as Swayam Prakash. So we'll discuss all this in the next class. Then there's Vaibhav, Prabhava, Vaibhava. There are so many things. Then there is Jiva Tattva, then there's Shiva Tattva, and then there's Jiva Tattva. So Jiva Tattva, amongst Jiva Tattvas are just ordinary like souls, not in the category of Vishnu. They are not Supreme Lord themselves, but they are ordinary Jiva, but they have been empowered. They have been empowered by the Supreme Lord by some aspect of his opulence. In that particular aspect, they are as good as Brahman, as Bhagavan. They're as good as Bhagavan. Like, for example, Brahma is Gunavatara, but he's also Jiva, and he's been given empowered by the Lord by the power of with the power of to create. Narada, he's been empowered by the Lord with the power of bhakti. That is why he's so powerful, right? He goes around making devotees everywhere because he's been empowered by the Lord to give bhakti. So like the Kumaras, Jnana, knowledge. So like this, there are Prithu Maharaj, kingly power. Lord empowered him with kingly power. So these are jivas, but in their activities, in a particular field of activity, they will be exactly like the Supreme Lord. As in, they will demonstrate the power of Supreme Lord. Like for example, Prithu Maharaj, he was so powerful. Not Prithu Maharaj, I think. Prithu Maharaj, he actually leveled the whole earth. Leveled the whole earth. Just imagine all these mountains and peaks and everything. He leveled everything for agriculture to happen. Who can do that? Because he was empowered by the Supreme Lord. So like that, there are different Shaktavesha avatars, each of them with a particular goal and with a particular potency, Shakti. Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavad Pranam.
Good, Prabhu.
Prabhu, Krishna is given as incarnation.
Krishna is given as incarnation. See, Krishna actually, we should, okay. You mute yourself. Krishna, see, what is a avatara? Avatara is anybody who comes down. Okay, so in one way, Krishna comes down. In another way, Krishna is present everywhere. But we should not confuse Krishna as one of the avataras because he is the avatari. But Krishna also himself descends because, yeah, he comes down from the spiritual world in that sense. But we normally don't use this word incarnation because people will think that then Vishnu is because Vishnu is not there in the list of these 10 incarnations. Krishna is there. So that is why our Vaishnava Acharyas say Balaram instead of Krishna. So it's just for, clarifying any confusion people might have about Krishna's position. So we generally say Krishna just manifested and became unmanifest. He's so powerful, right? So, which is true, but he's also incarnation, which is also true. But it's better to take that route of saying that, he's helping people understand that he's more powerful than just another avatara, because another avatara actually is will come only if they're coming from Krishna. And when Krishna appears, all these avatars are enter into him, right? Incarnate actually is the word avatara. Incarnate is a bad English word equivalent. Avatara means avatarati iti avataraha. So one who comes down, descends from the spiritual world to the material world. So one way Krishna is not descending because he's present in this material world. He's already that way descended. So we don't technically, we can call avatara, but we don't. Generally, we can just say he's Swayam Bhagavan, he himself appeared. Just to avoid confusion. Is that okay? Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
And any incarnation comes to this material world comes through Purusha, but here
Comes through Purusha.
So here Krishna is not coming through Purusha.
Yeah, that is why he is a very good point. So that is also another reason why we don't technically call him Avatara. Because anybody who actually appears here, Avatara comes through the Purushas. So yeah, that is also another good point. Okay. Okay, so this is a little technical class in the sense, not much from a personal application perspective, except that, we should understand we should understand the power of Krishna and surrender to him fully. Engage in pleasing Guru and Krishna. So book distribution, like I said, kindly think about it and let's do something about it, all of us. Either engage in book distribution physically If that's not possible for whatever reason, you can kindly do Shastradan. Lot of book distribution is happening. We will use that Lakshmi to help somebody who wouldn't have otherwise been able to get a Bhagavad Gita in their hands. Okay. So with that we'll, yeah, anybody wants to say anything?
Distribution.
One second, Abhiram Prabhu, 1 second, Ruchira Mataji. Yeah, Ruchira Mataji.
Prabhuji, Purusha here refers to Shirodakshay Vishnu, na? From
Yeah, Purusha.
Shirodakshay Vishnu, na?
Yeah, so actually Prabhupada in his purport says Kshirodakashaya Vishnu, but Kshirodakashaya Vishnu is not different from Garbhodakashaya Vishnu. So it, in some places it is also said Garbhodakashaya Vishnu is the source of all incarnations. So generally it's just safer to say Purushas. So it can be Kshirodakashaya Vishnu, it can be Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, Mahavishnu. Yeah, Abhiram Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Prabhu, for book distribution, can we go alone or we have to, how to make a group and how to make join us?
Okay, so what, good question. So what I am, one is, devotees have to be inspired, self-inspired, like our devotees in Purimau, they are self-inspired. I've just been telling in all my classes and I just said, and they said, okay, every Saturday of this month we will go. And of course, then Vaikuntha Ekadashi, one day, full day book distribution. So they decided themselves, they're inspired, they went out. Now, if you are not self-inspired, if there are no 1, 2, 3 devotees, who want to go. Another idea is that your Sunday program, so which I am planning to do possibly next Sunday, Sunday program which you conduct, right? Evening program, Tatsang, convert that into a book distribution program, which means that people will come. Don't tell them before that you are going for book distribution. Just after they come, you just say, today is a special program. We are going to do Nagar Sankirtan. And then go into the main road, wherever, give all people, everybody books, and just explain 5 minutes what this is, and then take them along. Have at least few of devotees who have been in the system for long, front end this seva. You try to distribute books, and then you take, if you think there is one person who might be more interested than others, take him along with you, like this. Just engage. See, they have to get the ruchi of book distribution, and if they go alone, they will not get, because people will slam their doors at them, right? Saying, I don't want books. I know everything. And when we hear all these, our ego floats and get troubled. So it's not a good idea to go alone on book distribution. Generally, unless somebody is very advanced, generally book distribution should be done at least 2 people together. Or if there are a group of devotees, it is good. Best thing is to get people into the mood is to take them on Harinam Sankirtan. So Sankirtan should be going on, and others can distribute. It could be magazine, it could be small books, 10 rupees books, 20 rupees books, and obviously Bhagavad Gita. So one surprise Sunday program be good.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else has anything to say? Okay, then we'll conclude. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhyo cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.